Mr. Speaker, my question is for the Premier. This government runs self-congratulatory radio ads at the same time as closing hospital beds. They kick kids off.
You're not helping. Please finish.
Mr. Speaker, they kick kids off the autism treatment waitlist just to make the list look smaller. At the same time, they add them to another waitlist. They cancel the gas plant at the cost of $1 billion just to save a few seats. They cancel offshore wind projects in Liberal-held ridings. Now the evidence has been deleted again. It's been a while since the Liberals were looking out for the best interest of Ontario. Mr. Speaker, because of that, life has got harder in Ontario. So my question, Mr. Speaker, to the Premier is, does every decision this government makes need to be about their own political surviving?
Thank you.
Well, Mr. Speaker, let's talk about the initiatives that we are involved in, Mr.
Member
Speaker.
from Stormont.
And that includes investing billions of dollars in infrastructure across this province, Mr. Speaker. We're in year 3 of $160 billion.
Member from Nipissing.
$160 billion over 12-year investment in infrastructure. That's roads, that's bridges, that's transit, that's hospitals, it's schools and universities, Mr. Speaker. We are in the process of putting in place a climate change policy, Mr. Speaker, a cap-and-trade system that is going to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, Mr. Speaker, and we only have to look around the world to recognize that climate change is the single most important threat that we are facing as a globe.
Now that I've got quiet, to make sure I don't have to be too loud, the member from Leeds Bren will come to order. You have one wrap-up sentence.
And, Mr. Speaker, we are investing in the post-secondary education of the young people of this province, Mr. Speaker, in a way that has not been done before.
Supplementary.
Speaker, back to the Premier. Last week, we learned of the 5th OPP investigation into the Liberal government. This time, the government is accused of deleting key evidence in a $500 million lawsuit. Speaker, the Premier claimed that she knew nothing about it until the media reported it. But Trillium's lawyer, Morris Cooper, doubts that could be possible. He is quoted in an article in the Ottawa Citizen by David Reevely that he spoke to the government lawyers about it several times. Speaker, we're not talking about a nuisance lawsuit here. We're talking about a lawsuit that has the taxpayers at risk for $500 million. Will the Premier admit to the legislature that she was aware of it? Or is the normal way of doing business in her government just deletions, denials, and cover-ups?
The member will withdraw.
Withdraw.
Premier.
Mr. Speaker, I have been very clear that I knew nothing about the investigation until I read about it in the media. The Attorney General has sent a statement to the Ottawa Citizen, Mr. Speaker, and if the member opposite has further questions, we can absolutely make sure that he gets a copy of that statement.
Thank you. Final supplementary.
Well, at $500 million, she should have known about it. Exactly. Thanks to David Livingston and Laura Miller, we now know that all evidence in the Premier's office and Cabinet office about the Trillium project were wiped away. Well, what about the other ministries, energy and environment? Well, according to the Trillium lawsuit, in January of 2011, just 2 weeks before the offshore wind program was cancelled, the government decided to give the offshore wind file a code name. No surprise, Mr. Speaker, since they called the gas plant file Project Vapor. What's shocking is that this government gave orders to, quote, purge all email records and documents except for Ohio and Sweden. Mr. Speaker, will the Premier tell us what code name was assigned to the offshore wind file? And will she release all the documents saved under that code name?
Seated, please. Premier.
Mr. Speaker, well, as I said, I knew nothing about this investigation until I read about it in the media, Mr. Speaker. It is an investigation that is taking place outside of this legislature, Mr. Speaker, as it rightly should. And, Mr. Speaker, I will read from the statement that was sent to the media last week by the Attorney General. The only information we have is what we have read in the media, and if what we have read is accurate, you should address any questions you have to either the OPP, who have been quoted as saying they're investigating this matter, or to the Public Prosecution Service of Canada, PPSC, whose counsel has been quoted as saying they have not received any disclosure on this. So, Mr. Speaker, I would advise the same to the member opposite, and I would then again refer back to my earlier answer, which is, Mr. Speaker, we have instituted training, we have instituted changes in terms of the...
Thank you.